What if I told you that the words you are hearing right now may not have come from a human mind at all? Imagine a world where books, speeches, and even the stories that move us could be created by something that doesn't feel hunger, doesn't need sleep, and doesn't even exist in a physical body. Sounds strange, right? Yet, that's exactly what artificial intelligence is capable of doing today. Stay with me until the end, because you will not only understand how artificial intelligence can write texts, but you will also discover some secrets that may completely change the way you see writing itself. Let's start with the obvious question. How can a machine, a set of codes and algorithms, possibly write something that makes sense, something that can move us, or explain an idea in a way we can understand? After all, machines don't live, they don't feel, they don't experience the world. And yet, here we are, living in a time where computers produce poems, articles, and even scripts like this one. So how does this actually happen? The magic lies in something called language models. Think of them as gigantic brains made of mathematics and probability. Instead of neurons, they use billions of connections trained on enormous amounts of text collected from books, websites, conversations, and pretty much anything you can imagine that has been written. These models don't really understand words the way you or I do. Instead, they predict the next word in a sequence. It may sound mechanical, but when this prediction is repeated billions of times, the result is astonishing. The text flows naturally, almost as if there were a person behind it. Let me give you an image to make it easier. Picture a chef who has never actually tasted food, but has read millions of recipes. He knows what ingredients usually go together, what flavors balance each other, and how dishes are commonly prepared. Without ever tasting a single bite, he can still write new recipes that sound delicious. That's how artificial intelligence writes. It doesn't taste the meaning of words, but it has studied so many examples that it knows how to combine them in a way that makes sense. But here's where things get interesting. If AI doesn't really understand, why do we feel like it does? Why do we read an AI-generated story and sometimes even forget it was created by a machine? The answer is because we humans are pattern seekers. We look for meaning, and when words come in a familiar rhythm, when sentences carry the structure of human thought, we fill in the gaps. We assign intention where there is none. That's why a phrase generated by AI can sound inspiring, even though behind it there was no emotion, only prediction. Now, you might be asking, can AI really create something original, or is it just repeating what it has seen before? This is one of the most debated questions. Technically, AI is not copying sentences directly. It's combining fragments of knowledge in new ways, like a child building castles out of Lego pieces. The pieces aren't new, but the castle might be something no one has ever built before. And that's where creativity gets blurry. If originality means creating something from absolute nothing, maybe AI can't do that. But if originality means recombining ideas into new shapes, then yes, AI is surprisingly creative. To keep you hooked, let me share a curious story. A few years ago, an AI was asked to write a novel. What it produced wasn't perfect. It had strange plot twists, odd sentences, and characters that appeared and disappeared without explanation. Yet, it was undeniably a story. People read it, laughed at its oddities, but also admitted that parts of it were entertaining. That moment shocked many, because it proved that writing is not this mysterious human-only skill. It can be mimicked, and sometimes mimicked very well. But here is the catch. AI writing is only as good as the data it has been fed. Imagine raising a child who only ever heard bedtime stories about dragons. When that child grows up, almost every story they tell will involve dragons in some way. The same happens with AI. If it trains on texts filled with bias, misinformation, or repetitive cliches that will echo in its output. So while AI can write, its writing reflects the quality and the flaws of what it has learned. Now let's go a little deeper. Have you noticed that AI writing often feels polished, maybe even too polished? That's because it's designed to avoid mistakes. But in real human writing, mistakes, pauses, and imperfections often create charm. A sudden unexpected sentence, a personal confession, even a silly spelling error can make writing feel alive. AI, in contrast, sometimes feels too smooth, like a road without bumps. Pleasant, but maybe lacking soul. And here lies another question. If AI can write so much, so fast, what does that mean for human writers? Should we feel threatened? Some people think so. They worry that AI will replace journalists, scriptwriters, or novelists. After all, why hire someone to spend days writing when a machine can spit out thousands of words in seconds? But others see it differently. They argue that AI is more like a tool, a partner. Instead of replacing creativity, it can boost it. Think of it like a calculator. Mathematicians didn't disappear when calculators were invented. Instead, they could focus on deeper problems, leaving the basic calculations to machines. Let me share another example. A student who struggles with writing an essay can ask AI for help. The AI might provide a first draft, giving the student a structure, a starting point. Then the student can edit, improve, and add their personal voice. In this way, AI is like scaffolding for a building. It doesn't replace the architect, but it helps the structure stand tall. But there are also darker sides we cannot ignore. What happens when AI writes fake news so convincingly that people believe it? What happens when AI-generated spam floods the internet, drowning real human voices? These risks are very real, and they show that the question is not just, can AI write? But should AI write everything? Maybe the answer lies in balance. Like fire, AI can warm your house or burn it down. It all depends on how we use it. Now let's talk about something fascinating. Style. Can AI mimic famous writers? The answer is yes, and it's almost scary. You can ask an AI to write like Shakespeare, and suddenly the text is filled with thou and thee. You can ask it to sound like a motivational coach, and it will flood you with energy. This ability comes from its training. It has seen so many styles that it can adapt like a chameleon. But again, is it really understanding Shakespeare's soul, or just imitating patterns? That's the big philosophical debate. And here's a curious detail you'll love. Sometimes, when asked to write a poem or story, AI surprises even its creators. It produces metaphors that no one expected. Scientists who built these systems sometimes admit, we don't fully know how it came up with that. That mystery, that unpredictability, makes AI writing almost magical. It feels like opening a box of chocolates without knowing what flavor you'll get. But let's not romanticize too much. AI has limits. It struggles with long-term memory. If you ask it to write a very long story, it may forget details introduced earlier. A character's name might suddenly change, or an important plot point might vanish. Imagine watching a movie where, halfway through, the hero is suddenly someone else entirely. Funny, but not ideal. That's one of the weaknesses of AI writing. Still, improvements keep coming. Every new generation of AI gets better at remembering context, keeping coherence, and generating texts that feel almost indistinguishable from human work. The gap is closing, and maybe one day you'll pick up a best-selling novel without realizing it was entirely written by AI. So where does this leave us? Should we embrace this technology or fear it? Perhaps the best approach is to see AI as a mirror. It reflects our words, our knowledge, our creativity, filtered through mathematics. If we feed it wisdom, it may help spread wisdom. If we feed it noise, it may echo noise louder than ever. The responsibility lies with us, not the machine. Before we wrap up, let me leave you with a thought experiment. Imagine a future classroom. Students sit in front of their tablets. Instead of writing essays, they guide an AI to write essays with them. Instead of memorizing formulas, they use AI to explore new ideas. Would that make education richer or poorer? Some say richer because it gives access to knowledge faster. Others say poorer because it removes the struggle, and struggle often creates growth. Which side are you on? And now, the final question. Will AI ever truly write like a human, not just in style, but in meaning? Will it ever feel the weight of words, the joy of storytelling, the pain of loss that makes writing so powerful? For now, the answer is no. AI doesn't feel. It doesn't cry when a character dies. It doesn't laugh at a clever joke. But maybe it doesn't have to. Maybe its role is not to replace us, but to expand what we can do. So, the next time you read a text that amazes you, ask yourself, could this have been written by a human? Or was it crafted by an artificial mind? And more importantly, does it matter as long as the words touched you? What do you think? Should we celebrate AI writing as a revolution? Or should we be cautious about letting machines take over the words that shape our world? Leave your thoughts, share this discussion, and don't forget to subscribe so we can keep exploring the future together.